we'll do the...
Okay, they can hear us.
Are we good now?
Yeah.
All right, let's start this all over again. Good afternoon, everybody. This is Scott DeCamp. You could maybe read my lips earlier, but now you can actually hear me, hopefully. This is a CatchMark SportsNet podcast, Season 5, Episode 8. Apologies for the little lack of audio in the beginning, but thankfully we have Courtney Jimison, our digital media specialist, and she saved the day, as she usually does on here. Otherwise, if she wasn't on here, I'd be panicking or wouldn't know how to fix it, but she fixed her audio. This is her first podcast. Welcome.
Thanks.
So this is a really cool episode. This one means a lot to me just because of this program that we've started. We've had some volunteers since the beginning of CatchMark SportsNet 2 years ago, but now we're kind of trying to get more of an official program launched. We've kind of call it affectionately the CatchMark SportsNuts, and that's basically just a play on words. A sports nut is someone who's really passionate or crazy about sports, and so that's kind of what we've gone with, it kind of an alliteration with a sports nuts, that kind of thing. But we have with us someone who's been with us from the beginning, like I said, an OG, Letisha Mikkelsen. Thanks for joining us.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks. I know it's been a long day at school, I'm sure, for you.
It has.
So, and we also have Whitehall Junior Myles Welch, who's done a lot of stuff with Whitehall for us. How's it going, Myles?
How's it going? Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. How are you, Scott?
Good. Thanks. Hopefully I don't screw anything up on this, or otherwise I'm just going to hand the keys to you on this podcast going forward, so you won't screw it up. But your day's been good, though, both of you?
Yeah.
You, Courtney?
Yeah, just working.
Just working? Yep. So our live podcasts this fall have been 7 to 8 p.m., but we're doing this early because I'm going to cover the Montague-Whitehall volleyball match at 6 o'clock at Whitehall. District play start, so it's the, do or die time now for those teams. But before we hop into this, we need to thank our sponsors. We'll start off with Big Stone Therapies, Rescue 2.0 LLC, Grieve Law, Edward Jones with financial advisor Brett Adkins, Coldwell Banker Woodland Schmidt with David Duesenberry, Farm Bureau Insurance, the Kenny Agency, 5-Star Real Estate Leaders with Matt Parker, The Birdhouse, Scheid Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, and then Greenridge Realty with Chris Dykman, Sarah Real. Of course, there's our title sponsor, Chris Wank Real Estate of Coldwell Banker Woodland Schmidt. If you've ever wondered what your house or property could potentially be worth in today's market, just reach out to Chris and his team, and they'll get you a comparable market analysis put together so you can have the data and help guide you through the process. As a real estate agent, having strong working relationships with local lenders, Chris and his team have the upper hand in being very creative and coming up with strategic ideas for all situations presented to his team during a potential purchase of a house or vacant land. Chris Wank takes pride in trying to provide the best customer service to his clients and ensuring that there is an open line of communication. Being born and raised here in West Michigan, it means a lot to him to work with the folks here in this area. So reach out to him, and he can help you out. So back to the CatchMark SportsNuts, the topic. So we want to just kind of introduce both of you, and we'll start out with you, Letisha. You've been doing this since we started 2 years ago. And first off, where are you from?
I graduated from Montague, but I was born and raised mostly in Muskegon until I moved to 5th grade to Montague. So moved away when I became an adult and ended up back in Montague with kids.
And what's your 9 to 5?
My 9 to 5 is I work in title with reading and math at the elementary school in Montague. So I help the little ones when they're struggling.
How did you get so involved in sports?
I would have to say because my kids were involved in sports. You're going to sit there and watch them play, and, it's like, what can I do to make things better? And I was raised in a household that you do what you can and volunteer your time.
And then what did you, in terms of taking photos, I know that's one of the passions of yours. How did that all start?
Taking pictures of the kids. And it started when they were playing soccer at Reese Puffer soccer group when they were 3 and 4 or 4 and 5. And, everybody appreciated the pictures. So, it just gave me more reason to take the pictures. I have trouble now watching games without my camera.
And then, that's tough because you get so used to that it's a part of you.
Yep.
Over to you, Myles, real quick. you're an 11th grader at Whitehall, and I understand you just celebrated a birthday.
Yeah, I'm 16 now. Saturday I turned 16.
So I think you were driving before that, though, weren't you?
Yeah, I'm always on the road.
So I'm not trying to out you or anything, but so how'd you get interested in sports? I know you're a huge sports fan.
I think my dad was a big part of that. He introduced me at a very young age. He always tells me stories about when he was younger and how he got into sports. So ever since then, I just followed him every year. So
what got you interested in like sports journalism, sports media, broadcasting? Because I understand that's something you want to do. We'll talk about that in a little bit too. But
so it's mostly just like I've been watching games ever since I was little, and I've always been like, man, I want to do that when I get older. So that's pretty much where it stems from.
And then back to you, Letisha. How much of a thrill do you get just being on the sideline?
It's exciting. It's exciting to see the up close emotions of the players and the coaches and watching them get excited and watching the lows too. It's all part of it. You don't get to experience that when you're in the stands.
And then since you've been on the sidelines for a handful of games now, how's that different than your perspective in the student section? That's fun, obviously, but how's it different being down right next to the field level?
Yeah, it's super different because, especially Whitehall, I see a bunch of my buddies on the sideline, so it's kind of tough to stay out of their way. But, yeah, and then after the game with interviews and stuff, it's been a lot of fun.
Well, you're doing a great job, and you both do, so we really appreciate you guys. And we're not letting Courtney off the hook. So tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, how old are you, and what brought you to CatchMark?
I'm 25. I lived in New Era up until about February. Been kind of all over the country. My dad was in the Navy, but this is kind of my home area. What brought me to CatchMark was I worked at Wesco for 7 years, and I had a film and video degree. I graduated in December of 2020. So I was looking for a place, and CatchMark wasn't necessarily hiring, but I shot my shot with Brent, our boss, and he gave me an opportunity, and so I'm still here. So
well, keep shooting because you're doing a great job. So I don't think the sponsors got through on the second try yet, right? So probably need to read through those again. I don't want to leave them out because that's why we're doing it. And Wesco, if you're listening, we're just saying we do good work if you guys are interested in having your name attached to it. So first off, let's thank our sponsors: Big Stone Therapies, Rescue 2.0 LLC, Grieve Law, Edward Jones and financial advisor Brett Adkins, Coldwell Banker, Woodland Schmidt with David Duesenberry, Farm Bureau Insurance, the Kenny Agency, 5-Star Real Estate Leaders with Matt Parker, The Birdhouse, Scheid Plumbing, Heating and Cooling, Greenidge Realty with Chris Dykman and Sarah Reel, and then of course our title sponsor Chris Wink Real Estate with Woodland Schmidt, Coldwell Banker Woodland Schmidt, excuse me, and he can definitely help you out. He's a local guy. Means a lot to him being able to do business in the area, and you can obviously look him up, or if you need to contact him, we can help you with that too. But he does a lot of good work, and he's a big time sports fan too as well. On top of that, so look up Chris Wink, Real Estate of Coldwell Banker, Woodland Schmidt, if you would. So we talked about each of the guests a little bit here. One thing I want to do is kind of give a shout out to some of the other sports nuts. We have Shayla Hardy, who's a Whitehall freshman. She's done a great job with photos and updates and stuff. She's invited to this podcast, but she had driver's training today. So that's what you're going to get when you get some students. You're going to have all different things going on. Emma Pendell, Montague Senior, also invited to this podcast, but she has a wrestling workout out of town today. She's gearing up for that. She was a state champ 2 years ago. I challenge Myles to get on the mat with her at some point this season. I'll throw that challenge and see if that happens or not. No, she's a state champ. She's a good athlete. She does a lot of things too. CJ Bennett, North Muskegon Junior, great photographer. I don't know if you've seen any of his work, Letisha. He does a really nice job. He's planning to cover the cross-country state finals for us. So Paul Young, a North Muskegon parent, he's done some in-game updates and some interviewing for us. The list goes on, but I do want to mention Kiera Mikkelsen. She's a freshman now at Aurora, playing softball there. How's that going for her?
It's going. They had
Obviously, Letisha's daughter.
she had a scrimmage a week ago, and she got to see the field. Got to do some running, some base running, and got a at bat. So not bad for having a team of 40.
Wow.
Like, I don't know, there was like 15 freshmen. So she was really happy with that.
Yeah.
So they're done with practice, and they're just in their winter workout time now. But
Yeah. And how's school and everything going, the adjustment for that?
the adjustment is going well. Aurora University definitely is a commuter school, kind of like MCC would be considered a commuter school. And weekends do get a little lonely because everybody goes home because they live really close.
Yeah.
Versus her 3.5 to 4.5 hour drive.
Yeah.
So
Well, she did a great job for us, and she came back for a weekend and covered the Montague at Oak Ridge game in week 9. So that was great. We always welcome that whenever she wasn't technically a sports nut, but she kind of is. I mean, basically is. So she always does a great job with that. And then obviously another one that's done a great job for us is Emily Vanderstelt. She's at Hope College now, an Oak Ridge graduate. So she's done a lot for us, and she's come back and done some stuff for us too. And she actually landed a job, and we hope that we helped, but it was from like in their sports information department. I know they're at SID there. And so he saw me post something on it, and so he reached out to me, hey, you think she might be looking for something? I could use someone with her skill set. So that's really cool. So we're hoping that we can help land people opportunities. We hope the same for everybody. Yeah. Myles obviously included. And so you have, on top of your regular sports background, your dad, tell us a little bit about what he does for a living.
So he's retired from the military, so he opened up a sports card shop in Pokemon, but I'm mainly into sports, so that's what I care about. And so he spends a lot of time in there, pretty much all week, 11 to 6, so puts a lot of time and work into that.
And what's the name of his shop?
GC Trading Cards and Collectibles.
Right down the road here, right? And what's some of the cool stuff that's in there? What's the stuff that you like that's in there?
Well, he's had like number of memorabilia. He had Michael Jordan rookie card that he sold for over $5K. And actually tonight he's William Bedford's coming to sign autographs, former Pistons, 1990s. So it's a pretty big deal.
That's cool. So who are some of the other guests that he's had in there that are kind of cool?
So he had Jacob Buschberger, Montague graduate. He also had 1968 World Series champion for the Detroit Tigers, Denny McClain, come and sign autographs. So, yeah.
That's cool. I saw Jacob Buschberger on Friday. Him and his dad, Kevin, were at the Whitehall Allendale game, the playoff game. So that was cool. Got to talk to them for a little bit. Yeah, it's just cool. That's, for me, that's probably it's the best part of the job is the people you meet and the things you experience. So, yeah, so it's been great. But do you have any questions for these two here, Courtney, in terms of the SportsNuts program or anything else? Putting you on the spot here.
Yeah. I guess, what do you think that the future of this program would hold for you? Specifically you, Myles, because I know that you are looking for a future in broadcasting.
Yeah, so I'm actually planning on doing this throughout my rest of my high school career, and then we'll see how college goes, and then maybe even come back to it after. So see how everything plans out.
Yeah, so then for you, Letisha, I mean, both your involvement, because I think I view, you're great in photography, you've done updates, but I also view you as a mentor because with your experience doing it, but just your passion for it. I mean, what do you think about the program and what's going on and just helping out the way you do?
I was super excited when I seen that you were actually naming a program and the kids that are involved. I was super excited to see that. And then even like when Emma Pendel came up to me and said, Mrs. Mikkelsen, can I use your camera and take pictures? I'm like, yep, you can do that. Gave her some tips and she'd go do stuff and then she'd come back to me. I have a broken foot, so I've been in a boot all season. So it really took some of that relief and pressure off of me, but yet just to see her excited to do it, it's nice to see that and to see Myles get out there and, the other girls and, kids out there, and they come and they ask questions and they talk. And then just even for Myles, for you get on the sidelines, next to WZZM sportscasters, and they'll ask you questions,
And they're nice. They're nice guys, nice people, So you could, if you had any questions, I'm sure they'd answer them. Or even if you wanted to set up like an appointment with them or something, or job shadow or something, that'd be great too. So yeah, I think it's an awesome experience, and we're very grateful for it. I think it's a win-win for everybody involved in it. So that's how we want to keep it. So about the commenters, what I mentioned, people can comment. So any of these people's with Letisha or Myles, your friends, your family, anyone want to chime in? Let's hear it. But Sean Hadke, he's a regular commenter on this. He did let us know, can't hear you, my friend. So he got the muted version of our show. And then he said, there we go. So we got it on track. But he said some nice things here. He goes, love this podcast and the company, the people on it. Wish we had this back in my day, he said, because I know others really appreciate this. So, I'll watch and support when I can. Thank you for all you do with this. So he appreciates it, and we appreciate that. So about the program, basically it's student-led, but we're looking to get anyone involved who wants to be involved, quite honestly. So we cover primarily the West Michigan Conference, but we're starting to expand out from that as well. So, that's where our core is. But so anyone from those schools in the West Michigan Conference that's interested in getting involved in this, we'd love to have you on, have you part of this. I encourage you to sign up. And again, I think it's a win-win. And again, I would say anyone who can make recommendations to your friends or anyone that you know too. But what do you think, Myles, are some of the advantages so far, or things that you've learned so far about your involvement with this?
Oh, I think I definitely learned some interviewing perspective and how to really talk to coaches, and especially after games, even if they lose, how to, manage that and ask them good questions and stuff like that.
No, and I think there's some that, whether that's a sports nut or if it's someone who's done it a long time, they don't like to talk to the losing coach because they think he's going to bite their head off or whatever. And I know it's uncomfortable sometimes, but I think it's just a matter of, you just have to treat people with, give them some respect, show them some respect, give them a little time if they lost and it was a tough loss, give them a few minutes to cool off or whatever, but just be straightforward with them. And it helps sometimes if you let them know ahead of the game or a couple days before, hey, I'm going to be covering the game. I'm hoping to talk to you afterwards, win or lose. That helps too.
I have to give a shout out to many of those coaches that have taken the time to talk to the kids. They're struggling their first time with their questions, and they've been very patient. The OV coach was great, especially struggling with the season, and then you have a new kid sitting in front of you, and it's been really nice to see the coaches appreciate the kids and giving them the opportunity that they need to do the job.
No, that's a great point, because Courtney, I'll swing this around to you, because you, I think, asked some questions. Was it a soccer match for me? Was that when I gave you some questions, some general questions?
It was North Muskegon versus Ludington in the spring.
Oh,
what was that like?
It was nerve-wracking. It was really the first time I had ever covered anything like that by myself, and I did all of it besides the writing portion. I did, the photos, the updates, the interviews. I had to run and chase the Ludington coach down to make sure that they didn't leave because they were booking it. And then I had to go and find the other coach, and then my bags got locked in the thing. So I just did a lot of running around that day. But it was definitely a lot of fun. And I think as I do it more, it's just something that, I'll get better at, just the same as all of our other sports nuts are getting used to.
No, and that's the thing. You're only going to get better by trying it. And yeah, there's got to be some grace early on, kind of to your point too, Letisha, that if there's people that, you got some young people, maybe ask questions, maybe they've never done that before. And I try to give them as much coaching as possible. I try to give them general questions that can apply win or lose, just very keys. Like, what were the keys of the game? Or what was the turning point? Or what did you take away from this? Just something that's kind of open-ended and lets the coach talk. But How were you before your first interview? Myles, were you nervous or not?
A little nervous, but I kind of did some research on like what are some good questions to ask, and I kind of just went with the flow of how he responded to my questions, and then just went from there.
Yeah, this man does his homework here. He was last week asking me about different defenses and stuff, and he really wants to be, an analyst someday. And I mean, that's definitely on the right track because I know there's not a lot of kids that are doing that right now. So, what would you guys like to see? And this can apply for any of you, but besides the things you like, what are some of the things you'd like to see? Maybe us try through this SportsNuts or try at SportsNet.
Does there need to be something a little more structured on taking notes during the game? That's something, I'm going to say old school with you coming from the writing on the paper, but taking notes, does it help you with the interview later? For me, I'm not going to remember which kid that was that ran that 80-yard touchdown and, what was the impact on the game. Yeah. I'm not going to remember who that is and what,
right.
So is there tricks to the trade kind of thing?
Yeah. So, I grew up in this, I went to college at first for engineering and then did a 180 and started studying journalism because I wanted to be a sports writer, but you only get better by doing it. But what I did it the old school. I used to keep stats of everybody at first and then maybe some notes, and that was written in a notepad. I came to CatchMark and Brent Rath broke me of the whole notepad. He didn't forbid it, but he's like, man, you got this phone in your hand, you got a notepad on it, which I do. I don't even use a notepad anymore. I use my notepad and I just take notes, and I usually don't even really do that as much anymore because I've been doing it long enough, so I kind of, a lot of it sticks.
The kids too.
And I know the kids, and I know the games and the sports and all this stuff, but then like as far as the scoring plays and stuff, I tweet those or put those on social so I can just refer back to that stuff too.
Right.
If I need to look back on, okay, what was this play and all this stuff. But if there's a key play, it helps to take a note somewhere or whatever. So, and especially for people who are maybe not as experienced in it, how do you keep track of that? But I mean, for you, Myles, what's it been like? Because it is a lot on a game night when, you're trying to, on an in-game update, and he posts directly through Hootsuite. We have a Hootsuite account that we can post on multiple platforms at once. And so you're posting, what team scored, what player scored, how they scored, run or pass or receiving, whatever, score of the game at the time of the game. And he's been nailing it. And how do you manage that, Myles?
Yeah, well, it's pretty tough covering Whitehall games because we score a lot. So every 2-3 play or minutes, really, there's a scoring play. So, but I think I can just pay attention more. My background in sports knowledge helps me out there too.
Yeah, we're not going to catch everything. I mean, and I'm kicking myself when I don't. I record at a game like literally every play, but I might be deleting as I go if I know I'm not going to use a clip.
Right.
Because it just makes it easier at the end of the night rather than going through 50, 75 clips or whatever, But I still have to do that sometimes because I'm not always disciplined about deleting all the other stuff. But
and I, less experienced with the coverage. I don't know all these kids. Yeah. These kids don't know me. Sometimes I don't even hear what they say. So I usually have to go and run around, ask either one of the trainers or one of the assistants, or I try not to bug the head coach. But if there's anybody else, I'll usually try to ask them. And it definitely helps. Most of them know what's going on. There have been some that have no idea what's happening. So
for Letisha or Myles, how much more comfortable does it make you covering the schools that like you covering Montague, you covering Whitehall? Or would you be fine covering other schools and consider it a challenge or still see it as fun? Or is it just maybe a little bit more comfort level because you know those teams?
I think it would be fun to do it. And because our kids and siblings do play in the conference, you get to know some of those other kids and parents. And so there is a little bit of a comfort level versus just not knowing anybody. Mm-hmm. But it would be a challenge, and I'd be up for it. But it definitely is easier to know, especially, because I knew the kids, growing up. My kids went to kindergarten here all the way through graduation. And then with Randy coaching, I know more kids now, not as many. I don't know every kid on the team, but, I'm outpoint going, when are you going to put this kid in? I need to watch this kid. So I try to give everybody love, when it comes to pictures.
So Randy Mikkelsen is the junior varsity football coach at Montague, also softball, head varsity softball coach there. So when she refers to Randy, that's her Randy.
Yep.
So what's been the most challenging part for you so far, Myles?
Most challenging part, I think, is to get everybody after the game, just to make sure I can get the head coach. I know sometimes the away team might be leaving early, so it's kind of tough to get that guy and interview him. So.
Yeah, and that's the advice I try to give. If you definitely want to interview both coaches, almost always start with a visiting coach, just because they're more likely to leave and then they're gone.
Yep.
Whereas the home team's generally gonna linger. But, if the home team lost, they might want to get out of there sooner. But those are just little things that you learn of who to grab. You kind of got to just kind of wait not by the exit, but kind of over on that end of the field where they're all leaving, so you can try to catch them. And it just depends if some, a winning team's taking pictures or something and it's not any footage you need to get, then you can go get the other coach. But there's just little things. But we are going to have a training session on November 12th, Sunday, coming up here. And we want to teach just some very fundamental baseline things to the sports nuts and everything. And we figured someone like you, Letisha, with experience can help us with running that. But you want to lay that out? Because we've obviously met about this and discussed this, Courtney, and we're laying out some resources for the folks that are attending. But can you just kind of give a sneak peek?
Like what?
Just about what we're going to do, what our plan is during the training session. And why people should come to it?
Well, we're providing food.
That's always a good one.
So you should come. We're gonna do some kind of basics of all of our aspects that we want each sports nut to kind of know how to do. In the future, we want to do more specialized per each one, but for this one, we just kind of want to show the newcomers that haven't covered anything, what we want them to do for
updates,
updates, photos, videos, interviews, where to put the files, how to post them to different social media sites. So there's going to be some new stuff for people like you guys that have been doing this with us for a bit. But it's mainly just kind of trying to get everybody at least at that first level flat line of experience.
Yeah, and I mean, we like to teach everyone how to do everything, but we know that there's people that want to, doesn't mean you're going to do everything at a game, that we don't want to put too much on people, but it's nice to know that, hey, we need someone to just go and do updates at this game. We don't necessarily need photos outside of what they're going to post on the social posts and videos. But I mean, yeah, if we got enough people, it'd be great to have people who specialize in areas. Like if you had,
if we had
10 students at Whitehall, we're
Myles
sports.
and Shayla, Myles can do the reporting and the interviewing, and Shayla can do the photos and videos.
Right.
And then neither of them have to worry about the other.
Right. That's where we want to get to. That's why we're trying to get some different kids and different volunteers from all these different schools. And if schools can get kids to volunteer and do this thing and become part of this program, then they're going to get more coverage at their school.
Right.
So that's a big part of this too. There's other schools out there that, we have a contract with Whitehall and Montague that doesn't cover the game coverage per se, but we do like to throw that in as an added bonus for, hey, thanks for signing up on with us. Because of that, we're going to give you some extra coverage in this, and we're going to work even more with your students. But that's not to say we won't work with students with other schools, because we will do that too. But we just want to get everyone signed up and get it going. But I think it's a good program. It's got potential. We're in the process of getting some swag ordered, T-shirts and different stuff like that. We got, if someone goes out, they got a press pass, that we provide them. Different things like that. We want to give as many good opportunities as possible, and just kind of take it from there and provide training, periodic training sessions and stuff. And also, I mean, if students want to use this, if they're not a National Honor Society, they can use this as volunteer hours. We'd be happy to sign any paperwork for that and do that kind of stuff too. So Anything else that you guys maybe are observing out there or observing in this program that you think is something to highlight, or something that maybe an area that we should be looking at more?
That's a tough question, because I feel like, every week I turn around and you're doing something new or doing something, adding something. So it seems to flow.
I mean, for me, I don't even know if this is possible, but like before the football season, having like a big press conference with all the coaches in the conference would be pretty sweet.
That would be, yeah.
That'd be cool.
Oh yeah.
You'd have to pull some strings for that one, but that'd be pretty sweet.
You talking like a media day type thing, or more of a
media day? Exactly.
Yeah, because we did media days here, CatchMark. We did them at the VAC with all the football teams in the conference. They came in at periodic times, though, so just because we want to be able to handle the flow, so they came in at different times. But yeah, we're always looking for those ideas, and it would be cool. We try to get them on the podcast, and I mean, I'd even be welcome with if Myles wanted to, if he wants to start hosting or co-hosting, he's more than welcome to that podcast, and then you can start bringing some of those coaches and players on to the show. And I think people are going to want to watch him and listen to him a lot more than they're going to want to watch or listen to me. So I think those are the types of things, though. We're not, if anyone's interested in that, and I think that's good experience for you, just talking in front of a microphone and talking sports, and you could even start breaking down some of the stuff with coaches.
Yeah, well, and we have a podcasting class in school. I'm in that. So
cool.
I have a podcast for.
Who teaches that?
Mr. Kogel.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, we got to get.
Shout out to him.
Maybe we need to get him on there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
love that.
I know Dennis. Yep. So, what do you think, as someone who doesn't have a big sports background, but you're getting in and getting involved, and what do you think of where this is heading and how things are moving?
I think it's definitely getting there. I didn't start out as like a huge sports fan. I played soccer in elementary school and did marching band, and that was about it. And I didn't really start taking photos of sports until being here at CatchMark. So it wasn't something that I was expecting to do, at first. And then as I do it more and more, it's kind of something that I like doing, but I think it's because I like what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So I definitely feel like as long as you're open to it, really anybody, even if you like sports, don't know much about sports, you can come in and do whatever you want out of all of the things that we offer to teach you.
So I have to bring this up because I have you both on here. We have to reveal the identity of this person who said they want to be on our TikTok. So you were at a football game and Myles was standing next to this individual. I don't know if you remember this or not. There's a young man, right, that said, hey, he told you that, right? Love these TikToks. When am I going to be on? I want to be on a TikTok. Do you remember that? That was from the OV game, right?
Yeah, it was a little boy.
Was he with, I think he was with Sammy Shepard. You don't remember?
He was standing like two people next to you. I have no idea who he was, but.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if you're listening to our podcast, hit up Myles, hit up me, and we'll see what we can do for you.
Yeah.
It's been his dream to be on a TikTok.
Sammy's already been on a TikTok. Did you see that one or not last year from the Ludington game?
Yep.
Did you see him blowing kisses to the crowd after the game?
Probably, yeah. Wouldn't be surprised.
So, Letisha, as far as being also obviously a sports mom, Trey came through and he was part of a group that won a state title during the COVID year when it was really weird and the season went into January.
Yes.
I mean, from that aspect of it, what was that like? That whole ride, just being a sports mom, obviously with your children, but then some of the experiences that you guys had because of that.
It was hard to watch. It was hard to watch the emotions of, you can play today, you can't play tomorrow. You can get together today, you can't get together tomorrow. And that core group of boys were so tight that it was hard to, no, you're not supposed to be together. I don't want to know what you're doing. And and those boys worked hard, and they put in the extra time that they needed to continue to be in shape and do what they needed. They ran dunes and, things that they didn't normally do. They had to come up with things. Trey built his own weight bench, I guess you'd call it, in the basement. And then at the time, everybody was buying weights. So then you're scavenging, trying to pick up a weight belt, or dumbbell here and, an extra weight here. It was hard to watch that. But in the end, I think 4 out of the 6 boys got together and went and watched Drew play Tech at Grand Valley this weekend. That's special. This is 3 years outside of high school. Those high school kids are still together.
Yeah. Oh, that's really cool. That's what it's about, honestly.
That's what it's about. Yep. They say you don't have friends like that from high school. You have friends like that from college. But these boys, they're making it work, even though Drew is 12 hours away. And, you know, so that was hard. That was hard. But yet in the end, they're good kids.
And I think that group too, Trey's class, I think they were going to win a state title. It just depended on whether they were going to get the chance. Because was the season going to get canceled?
Yeah.
Were they going to stop it? We're not going to do this.
Yeah.
But everybody persevered through it, including the MHSA made it happen and a bunch of people made it happen. So always fun to watch. I mean, it's not about winning the title. It's about the lessons you learn, all that stuff. But it is cool when you follow a team that does that.
Yeah.
And I point that to Myles. This is like last year's Whitehall team, this year's Whitehall team. These are teams that you just haven't seen come through Whitehall, and you just can't take it for granted. Yeah. So what's it like not only being able to have that up-close view, but going to school with these kids and being friends with them, and just this is your group, and they're doing these special things.
I think the week-by-week atmosphere in the school is just it's better than if we weren't as good, because after every win, everybody's lifting each other up, and then you see the guys, they get hype after every win, even if it's a blowout. So
I think Taco Bell's benefiting too, because I'll drive by there every Friday night. That place is just overflowing, and I see a bunch of red in there. And I think probably Montague kids have gone there too after games, but they're the beneficiaries of this. I'll drive by there. I'm like, nope, I'm not going to Taco Bell afterwards because I won't get my order for about 40 minutes. But
did you see the party that ended up happening there when they reopened after?
I heard about that. Were you part of it? Were you there or not?
That was Montague.
Oh, was Montague
I thought I seen both kids, but yeah, they set up
cornhole
in the parking lot. It was everybody missed Taco Bell during the remodeling.
So what's the trade-off though? And we appreciate you giving up some of your stuff that high school kids do, like hanging out in the student section. There's sacrifice made there. What is the sacrifice, and how do you think it could pay off?
I think student section's only going to last me 4 years, but in the end, if I'm broadcasting the Super Bowl one day, it'd be cooler than sitting in the student section.
It's cool. You need that. We don't want to take that away from students. Like if there's the one game, I kind of want to sit in the student section. That's fine. That's why we want to build up a crew of people that if someone can't make it, they got other plans. Maybe they're sick, maybe whatever. You can just plug in someone else and they can do those same things. But where should we be looking for more SportsNuts? Because we've been putting the sign-up sheet out there. We've been trying to put it on social. I don't know if it would work to be more active, like if I'm out there like in person, because I don't know if people are just going to get out of here.
Like the Army recruiters and
I was going to say
set up a table.
Set up a table during lunch.
Yeah.
I think,
Yep.
a lot of people would go to that.
Or sometimes, I don't know how Whitehall runs some of their classes. Montague has what they call seminar. It's not every day, but it's usually once a week or something like that. And everybody has seminars. So you could go into the freshman seminar this week and the sophomore seminar the following week and get a little,
Yeah. I've tried to go through some emails, through some teachers or administrators. It just doesn't feel like I'm getting too far with that right now. So, how did you find out about it?
I just saw on Facebook the post, so I was interested.
There's a funny TikTok I made from Manistee. I gave him his pass that night, and I didn't even know he was like in the stands. He had the pass around his neck, and I'm like panning the crowd, the Whitehall crowd. All of a sudden, I see a kid doing this with his CatchMark press pass. It was old Myles in the TikTok, so that was pretty funny. But so what other interests do you guys have outside of, obviously, what you're doing in school, and then with CatchMark here, and then you, same for you. What are your guys' interests?
Go ahead, Myles. You want to go first?
So I played tennis in the fall, and I played football, but I'm just not built for that really. So I changed to tennis when I was a sophomore, and I think it's one of the best decisions I've ever made. I've had a lot of great relationships in that, and I've built a lot of good things from that. So.
Oh, that's cool. You gonna any other sports you play?
Baseball. I've been playing that ever since I was real little, and so I played that in the spring.
You gonna play basketball too, or no?
Yeah, I'll play basketball, but it's not.
What about you? What are your interests?
My interests? I like arts and crafts. Video games are a big one. And just taking photos. I really like taking photos. Not that I always have time for it, but
Wedding photos.
yeah.
You do that as well, right?
Yeah, I do.
Do you have time for hobbies?
I now have time that I'm an empty nesting parent, both kids in college, hoping to be able to get into hunting again. The last time I got to hunt for myself, I think it was pregnant with Trey. He'll be 21 next weekend.
Yeah.
And actually, Kiara said something this weekend. She's like, Mom, you need to go out in the woods with Dad. Even with my broken foot, she's like, you can just sit there. And I'm like, yeah, I'm thinking about it. But
enjoy nature.
But I'm a bow hunter, not a gun hunter. So I haven't shot a bow in so long. I don't. Yeah. I'm gonna have to work up for that.
So Trey, it's not new. It's not news, but it happened in the last couple months, right? Where he transferred. He's at Calvin now, right?
Yes, he transferred from Ripon.
So how's that been like for him?
Just coming out of his shell. It was definitely a good move. Unfortunately, he did college tours during COVID, and when they did tours, not everybody was available to meet. And when you can't meet the right people at college, make sure you do, because if a coach wants you, oh yeah, we have PE education. They didn't have PE education, and his classes weren't going to get him what he needed in the end. Yes, when you transfer schools, it takes you back some steps, and he knows he's, consequences of that, obviously money, because you put money into classes that might not work for your degree in the end. But in the end, he's going to walk away with what he needs. Football program, he left, championship conference team for a brand new team at Calvin. That was, he thought that was going to be a pretty cool move too. But, in the end, he knew he needed to do what he needed for the education. But unfortunately, those COVID years for those kids trying to find a college and a right fit just was horrible. Was horrible.
So Whitehall looks like it's become a potential feeder program for Calvin. Obviously, your son's from Montague, and maybe there's some other kids there too. But I know they sent out a bunch of offers to Whitehall kids. I just kept seeing these social posts pop up. Les received an offer from Calvin. It was like 3 or 4 kids, I think, from Whitehall.
Like almost all the starters, seniors.
Yeah.
Got offered.
Yeah.
And last year, a lot of our guys that graduated last year are playing there this year. So
yeah, for sure. But you mentioned having the connections and stuff and meeting the right people at college. And I will say, Myles, I'm a Michigan State grad, and one of the best professors I had there her name is L.A. Dickerson, and her husband is Dan Dickerson, the voice of the Tigers. So, and I haven't talked to her in a while, but those are the types of things. If you need, you need someone to help get in, you never know. Maybe Dan Dickerson will let you shadow him, or I can't speak for him. He's a busy man and everything, but you never know. You check it out, and I mean, there's been a lot of alumni that have come through there. They're doing good things. There's a guy named Joe Block that I think he's doing it for the Pittsburgh Pirates now. He's a Michigan State grad. He was there around the time I was there, but there's people that have come through there and that can help you out. So you just got to take advantage of those opportunities. But you have any other questions for Myles and Letisha?
I don't think so.
You guys got any questions for us? You can turn it around on us. What do you want to ask?
So how many years have you been in the sports industry, sports writing industry, and
Almost 25, yeah.
and did you see it like did you really think your career would go the direction it's going now?
No, the only thing I tried to do is just try to keep an open mind and try to do whatever was needed to kind of stay in it. Like when I started, it was kind of all newspapers. It wasn't as much digital or online and anything like that. And then right out of college, I got a job at the Grand Haven Tribune, worked there a couple years. I really liked that job because we did everything. We laid the paper out. You wrote it, you laid it out, you edited it, you do all that stuff. But it just, after 2 years, I was getting engaged. I'm like, I like it here, but I don't know if we can make a living off this just because it was a smaller publication. Yep. Really liked it, liked the people there, loved living in Grand Haven. But then I got an offer at the Kalamazoo Gazette to go work in the sports department there. Was there 13 years. Did desk half the time and writing the second half of that time. But no, and that was the newspaper days where you had 8 to 10 people in the newsroom for sports, answering phone calls from coaches and writing stuff up and covering games and all that stuff. And then it changed at MLive went to the more digital model, and then they started cutting the staff down. So it was just like it got to the point where it was one reporter for each coverage area of MLive. So one for Muskegon, one for Kalamazoo, one for Grand Rapids, and it's a lot to cover. It's a lot to ask one person to cover that.
That is.
And met a lot of great people, had a lot of great experiences, and then this opportunity came up. Again, I wasn't looking for it, but they approached me, and so I'm like, I think I'm ready to try something a little bit different. You miss the folks at MLive and people you work with and the teams you cover and everything, but this is really cool. Trying to make a difference in the community.
Honestly, I miss the print. I miss opening up the paper and reading about the kids, what happened. And price-wise, things have just gotten so out of hand that it's not worth it to buy it anymore. You don't find it. The ads aren't in there. You just don't find what you used to in there anymore. But I miss reading about the kids.
Yeah, and it's different. For me though, it still comes back to those relationships that you make with people, the people you're covering, and the memories and stuff. Like, for you, Myles, what have been the best parts or most memorable things that you've seen so far? If there's anything that jumps out in your head, is there a play, a game, an image? And honestly, you're only a few games into it, but what are the things that you've seen firsthand that have been really cool?
Well, I just think the atmosphere from just the sidelines and the coaches, how much they put into the game is kind of a big thing that I kind of realized for all around the area.
No, and they asked too, like, I know I'm shifting away from your question, but when we had, Kiara or Emily, when they're not there and I'm there, they're like, hey, where are they at? Because it's their peers, and they think it's cool that their peers are covering them and stuff, because they can relate on that level with them. Not that I can't relate, but I'm not getting any younger, so, it might be a little more difficult, but no, but it is changing, and that's the thing I would give advice to Myles is just stay, you got to chase your dreams, but keep an open mind and put as many tools in that tool belt as you can, because you never know how it's going to change by the time you get there. And even when you are there, how things can change. So you got any advice for Myles or anyone else? You're only 25, so you haven't been in this too long, but still, what have you learned so far?
I think keeping an open mind and kind of want to like learn as much as you can, because then you can just be that much more of an asset, and then you can also have a lot more opportunities than you would if you were just one thing.
I agree.
And you've seen that. You've been not just in this career field, but what would you say, Letisha, for someone who's coming up and trying to make a career?
Definitely. The open mind is going to be huge, and be willing to put in the extra time. Sometimes I was a secretary and worked customer service, and they had the company I worked for had their graphic artist not come back after maternity leave. and they had catalogs that had to get done. And they're like, can you do this? I'll try, and I self-taught Adobe. At the time, it was PageMaker. It's not even available anymore. Self-taught Adobe PageMaker to myself. Worked, had to make connections with all of the printing companies that we used. What kind of format is that? What do you want me to do? But I had to ask those questions because I was ignorant in that field. But I jumped in, and in the end, I got to set up photo shoots and models to make brochures for a new remote, I think it was called a remote control for or cruise control for a ski boat for skiing. Got to set up the model, got to get involved in, from the ground up on a new product. So, it was secretary and customer service. And that's where I went, and that's what drew me into photography, with the kids. And so, yeah, definitely that, and now I'm working in the school, helping kids. Definitely. Go with the flow, go with what feels good. And
You got any questions, Myles? You're just sitting there kind of.
I think I'm just sitting here.
No, what do you got? What do you got for me, questions wise?
I just like what do you think the trajectory of CatchMark, especially like the sports part, is going?
Well, we do have hopes, dreams, goals. We started in the West Michigan Conference, and that's where we're at. That's where we planted our feet, and we wanted to produce something really cool and unique, and because there's a lot of good media companies out there. There's others in the area that do a good job in their own right. We just wanted to do it maybe a little bit differently with social media and the video, and now trying to involve students in that network. Our goal is to now kind of build take what we've done in the West Michigan Conference and trying to expand it out. There was a temptation when I started here 2 years ago. I want to cover all of Muskegon because that's what I did with MLive, and Brent Rath, in his wisdom of running a business, is like, yeah, we need to slow that down a little bit and let's master what we're doing here. Let's try to, we need to scale in the proper way. You don't want to take on more than you can handle, but our goal is to start expanding out into a wider area. Do what we do in those other areas. If we can get this model going with the students and volunteers, get that proven, get that established, then I don't see why we can't take that to other areas and get that, because I think that's a quick way to replicate what we're doing in other areas. We would still need staff to do that, but by that time, if we can turn around what we're doing as a business, because at the end of the day, this isn't about making money, but we do have to pay for ourselves. So that's what we're trying to do, is to get to that break-even spot. And if we can do that and yet still produce great content, which I think we do, then I don't see any reason why we can't grow out into other areas and start spreading out in other areas. Because, I think it's pretty successful in the West Michigan Conference, but if it got to some other conferences, regionally, I think that would be a big hit there as well. So
3 years ago, SportsNet didn't even exist.
No.
So, think of it that way, that when you were an 8th grader, we didn't exist. We didn't have the sports coverage that we do have now. And then think about what we're doing, and where we're going.
And we're not there yet, and we want to keep getting better, and but we're kind of learning as we go. But you gotta sometimes put yourself out there and try some things before, without assurance. And we have these talks all the time. We have meetings and one-on-ones and stuff where we talk about growth and stuff like that. And that's the number one reason why I enjoy being here. Obviously, the people are great, but just being able to learn and grow and be pushed and to think about how to get better, instead of just kind of floating along. But that's just it. Is you gotta, I'm kind of a perfectionist, so I'm one of those guys who wants it all perfect from beginning to end, and I'm not going to try it unless it is. But you can't be that way, no. And that's hard. It's a hard habit to break when you've done it. Basically, that's kind of how you've been your whole career. So Courtney's kind of, not that she doesn't want things just right, but she's more bold, and I'm going to do it, and then if it's wrong, we'll fix it.
I guess they're wrong a lot, but I learn a lot from it too.
That's how we learn is mistakes.
Yep.
Yeah.
You learn from, you're not a failure, but you learn if you fail sometimes.
Yeah. I don't think you can learn if you succeed.
Yeah.
I think you have to fail.
Maybe the lessons don't stick as much, but you look at a sports team that maybe has bad habits and plays like crap, but they keep winning. Well, is that really helping them? Probably not. But if they lose a game and it really hurts and it really sticks with them, then maybe they might get somewhere with that. Because it's funny because I bring this up all the time, but Cody Cater we were talking about Whitehall's team last year, and do they have enough to win it? And this was last year, and we agreed that they did. But he goes, sometimes you got to get to that big game and lose and know what that feels like before you can go on to that next step. And that's why I'm looking forward to see if Whitehall can kind of take it to that next level this year.
I think we kind of saw that against Allendale. The first half, the whole season we haven't really played like a great team. And then we played Allendale, it was a good coach team, and then we got kind of surprised in the first half. And in the second half, we started kicking it up a notch. So.
Yep, learn those lessons, and
Well, and then the first time you're on that big stage,
you might not know how to react.
Yeah, the first time you walk out, in the not the dome, but in the Lions Ford Field, or even last year when I followed the Hart girls basketball.
Yeah.
They got to the Breslin Center that first year and they were just shell shocked. They had the talent, they could have done it, but that shell shock.
Yeah, it kind of got away from them just because you're on that stage, you're not used to it.
Yep.
So it's just different. And sometimes if you're not there, then you don't know how to react. But any other closing thoughts from you guys? We're getting close to our time, but anything else from any of you?
No, just thanks for having me on here today.
Absolutely. And the offer stands if you want to come on again and be a co-host, or maybe start doing it.
Anytime.
So any thoughts from you, Courtney?
You should be a SportsNut.
What's that?
You should be a sports nut.
You should be a
Me?
SportsNut. No, not you.
Damn it. I thought I was going to be able to be a sports nut and just give up the 9 to 5 or 9 to 9 or 9 to 11.
No, I was talking to the camera.
I know. You looked right in the camera, didn't you?
Yeah.
I didn't pick up that subtlety. I'm sorry. But no, thank you so much for being on, Myles and Letisha, and Courtney as well, being on here as well. So,
Thank you.
yeah. So, and obviously, thank you so much for what you guys do as SportsNuts and helping us out. So, before we sign off here, let's thank our sponsors one last time. That's Big Stone Therapies, Rescue 2.0 LLC, Grieve Law, Edward Jones with financial advisor Brett Adkins, Coldwell Banker Woodland Schmidt with David Dusenberry, Farm Bureau Insurance, the Kenny Agency, 5-Star Real Estate Leaders with Matt Parker, The Birdhouse, Scheid Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, Greener Realty with Chris Dykman and Sarah Real, and then our title sponsor, Chris Wink Real Estate of Coldwell Banker Woodland Schmidt. Hope you guys have a great week. We'll see you next week, everybody.
Bye.